On my 17th birthday, I was making a wish in front of my cake. Joshua suddenly spoke. Could you return the scholarship to Robin? You've already been taking advantage of living in my house, and you still want to cling to that little bit of money? Joshua's son has selective mutism since we were kids. This was the first time he ever spoke to me, and it was for the transfer student. I didn't dare say anything. I stepped back. After all, I was just a broke tag-along student who secretly accepted $10 million from Mr. Sun. After the college entrance exam, I'll be going abroad to study. As for the prize money and the person, I won't cling to either. Chapter 1. Joshua's son has selective mutism. The Sun family tried every possible method, spending money like water, yet nothing could make him speak, until one time, when the Suns went to an orphanage for a charity event and happened to witness me fighting desperately with a group of kids much taller than me over a piece of sandwich bread. Joshua saw it and pointed with his hand. Help her. Those few short words filled the Sun family with overwhelming joy, and they immediately completed the adoption procedures. And just like that, I became Joshua's son's study companion. Back then, he was thin and short, and never spoke. Some notorious upperclassmen at school thought he was pretending and picked an auspicious day to beat him up. Since I was living under someone else's roof, I had to prove my worth. So I didn't back down at all. Facing a group of delinquents much bigger than me, I actually felt like I was seeing walking military medals. I grabbed a shovel from the school board director, who loved gardening, and chased them away. Even when I got punished and made to stand outside as discipline, I could still smile and do handstands by the window to entertain Joshua. Joshua thought it was embarrassing. He kept his little face stiff and refused to look at me. After class, he wrote me a note. Ever since that day at the orphanage, he had never spoken to me again. I know you like me, but you don't actually think doing these cheap little things can win me over, do you? Ridiculous. Stop dreaming about climbing your way up and becoming something you're not. Huh? He was the young master. I was the servant. If anything happened to him, I'd be ruined too. Romance? Feelings? How would I dare think about that? But the young master didn't care. He was convinced I liked him to a hopeless degree. So whenever he had a nightmare at dawn, he would call me without the slightest psychological burden. Half asleep, I coaxed myself awake, splashed water on my face, and went to his room. The room was pitch black. Relying on memory, I walked to the bedside and gently covered Joshua's eyes with one hand while using the other to turn on the lamp. A few seconds later, I put my hand down and saw Joshua's dark eyes staring right at me. His face was still a bit pale. His fingers tapped rapidly on his phone as he complained. I just had a nightmare and couldn't sleep. I asked you to come read to me, but you took forever getting ready. You put on that fake no makeup, didn't you? Next time don't splash water on your face pretending you washed up. It only makes it more obvious. Just come straight here. It's not like I've ever said you were ugly. There he goes again. I perfunctorily responded with two mess, pulled out a book from his shelf, and halfway through reading, a breeze flipped the pages. I looked up and saw the window wasn't closed. I stood and closed it, reminding him as I did, don't leave the window open so wide at night. The draft might trigger your headaches. Turning back, I casually tucked the blanket around Joshua. He couldn't afford to get sick. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to sit in on the Sun family's private tutoring sessions with him tomorrow. They were expensive, $20,000 per class. While I moved, Joshua gave me that strange, unreadable look again. What's wrong? I asked. When it's time to fill out college applications, I'll allow you to choose the same university as me. He suddenly brought up the upcoming entrance exam a month away. I didn't react for a moment. Joshua grew anxious, his phone almost jabbing into my face. What? You're unwilling? Why would you be unwilling? Being able to attend a university with me is your honor. Stop pretending to play hard to get. Besides, it's not like you'll necessarily get into a university anyway. I took a deep breath and shook my head lightly. No, I'm just too excited. Satisfied with the answer, Joshua let out a soft hum and closed his eyes. Chapter 2. I quietly stepped out of the room and closed the door, only to run into the butler who had been waiting outside for quite some time. Please. He handed me a cup of tea. I accepted it and recognized the scent. It was the tea the Sun family used most often to receive important guests. Father's son sat across from me, rubbing his brow. The watch on his wrist was worth enough to buy an apartment in the center of a city where every inch of land was gold. The butler thoughtfully unfolded a newspaper for him, smoothing it out over the coffee table. A striking headline: Sun family heir risks life to save his beloved. Not long ago, a deranged criminal barged into the school and unfortunately took me hostage. In order to save me, Joshua exchanged himself for the hostage. I knew father's son, who had just returned from a business trip abroad, had misunderstood. He thought Joshua's son liked me. He didn't. Just today, Joshua had planned to kick me into the problem student class, a class full of spoiled rich kids and academic underachievers, just to free up a spot in the elite class for the transfer student. Joshua liked the transfer student, Robin, not me, Joanna. But just as I was about to explain, a check slid across the table toward me. Besides this small amount, father's son said, after the college entrance exam, I will send you abroad. All expenses will be covered by the Sun family. The price is that you will never contact Joshua again. Can you do that? I don't want to see scenes like you walking out of Joshua's room again. Father's son's gaze was heavy. Pressure applied effortlessly and without raising his voice. I can, sir, I can. Humiliated tears rolled down my cheeks as I held the check, my shoulders trembling as I walked back to my room. Chapter 3, 10 million. I was so excited I did several squats on the spot and almost snapped myself in half. Calm down. Life has basically turned into an open wilderness now. Anything could happen. I sat back at my desk, thought for a moment, then took out my diary and carefully folded the check inside. With nothing else to do, my mind suddenly drifted to the promise Joshua and I made about attending the same university. I didn't know why, but I minded it more than I should. I was probably going to break that promise, but Joshua wouldn't care anyway. After all, the way his entire heart and gaze were filled with another girl was still vivid in my memory. Just like in a youth romance drama, an innocent girl running around a strange campus, accidentally bumping into a boy's arms. When she picked up her fallen necklace, Joshua's eyes lit up sharply. Robin? He hadn't spoken in so long that his voice was hoarse. Embarrassment tinted the tips of his ears red, and in his panic he grabbed the water bottle I gave him and gulped it down in one go. His movements were urgent and clumsy, half soaking his collar. Only after wetting his throat did he speak again. Robin, it's you. That day, a post titled, Joshua Spoke, exploded on the school forum. What kind of medical miracle is this? The ice-cold, speechless prince suddenly talks the moment he sees the clumsy transfer girl? This is straight out of a novel. I'm shipping this couple immediately. Putting myself in Joanna's shoes, grew up together since childhood. Yet he's never said a single word to me, but breaks his silence for another girl. The sky might as well collapse. Correction, Joanna is just a study companion the son's bought. Never liked Joanna anyway. She walks around with her back straight like she's some kind of young lady. Calling her a study companion is generous. She's basically a nanny and a simp. LOL. Finally. That weirdly annoying person finally getting exposed. So satisfying. The harder everyone shipped them, the harsher their attacks on me became. It was surreal. I asked Joshua to delete the post, since it had been uploaded by one of his friends who enjoyed watching drama unfold. But even though he could speak now, he still chose to type his response to me. Robin just transferred here. She needs attention. This way it's easier for her to make friends. She came alone to a strange place. I can't just ignore her. Let me explain. She's the girl who escaped with me when I was kidnapped as a child. So what? That meant sacrificing me? I was so angry I wanted to scratch his face. But then I remembered I was just a freeloader living in the Sun household. So I threw a mini tantrum and smashed my phone onto the pillow. And that was that. But it stayed stuck in my throat like a fishbone that wouldn't dislodge. Sigh. In the darkness, I opened my eyes, thinking about father-son's promise to fully fund my studies abroad, and the check tucked inside my diary. My future. It was so bright I couldn't sleep. Chapter 4. The next day, with huge dark circles under my eyes, I sat in the Sun family's car on the way to school. The driver stopped me just in time. Miss, the young master wants you to sit in the front passenger seat. I looked at Joshua in confusion. He was sitting in the back seat, eyes closed, resting. His refined features were bathed in warm sunlight. In the mornings, he was usually short on sleep, and on the ride to school, he could only fall asleep peacefully if I sat beside him holding his hand. So, did he not need me anymore? A guess formed in my mind. Sure enough, the car turned onto an unfamiliar road, and Robin came running toward us excitedly. The bunny charm on her backpack bounced up and down, as lively and adorable as she was. Joshua, thank you for coming to pick me up. You're so nice. Here, I brought breakfast for you. As she spoke, her mouth was stuffed with a meat bun, the smell spreading inside the air-conditioned car, not exactly pleasant in the summer heat. Having taken care of Joshua's daily life for 12 years, I instinctively reminded, Joshua doesn't really like eating in the car. Really? Robin asked, her small face turning red with embarrassment. Sorry. I didn't know. Joshua shot me a displeased glance. He blamed me for overstepping. His long fingers reached out and accepted the bun from Robin. His movements were stiff but gentle as he uttered a few soft words to her. There aren't that many rules. I froze, because this particular rule was something Joshua himself taught me. Even when I was doubled over with hunger in the car, he would only coldly type on his phone, "Next time, wake up 30 minutes earlier to eat breakfast." Classic double standards. Outside the window, the glass reflected my face. Wow, a total clown. Chapter 5. The driver kept glancing back at me in shock, and I knew what he was surprised about. At first, I hadn't expected it either. That Joshua, who had been silent for years, would start speaking the moment he met Robin, and that he would speak only to her. People say that being the exception is often the beginning of love. Even father's son, who had dominated the business world for decades, had finally misjudged something. I felt a bit relieved, yet also guilty. This money should have belonged to Robin. The smell inside the car grew stronger and stronger. Feeling dizzy, I rolled down the window and forced myself to endure the discomfort. Only when we reached the school gates did I rush out of the car to retch. After the burning sensation in my stomach faded, I turned around to see Robin biting her lip, her eyes red, while Joshua looked furious. He angrily typed on his phone, "I know you don't like Robin, but did you really have to embarrass her like that? Since when were you so fragile? I remember you weren't like this at the orphanage." Robin covered her mouth in surprise. "Aw. Joanna, are you really like everyone says, the little household helper the Sun family adopted to take care of Joshua's son?" Her round eyes blinked innocently. She had no idea she'd touched Joshua's biggest taboo. Back in middle school, the class bully confessed to me and got rejected. He lost his temper and called me a little maid and a pathetic simp. The next day, his parents came and transferred him to another school. No one dared call me that again. My name finally became my name. But this time, Joshua said nothing. He simply took a napkin and gently wiped the grease from the corner of Robin's lips. I immediately took the hint and told Joshua, "Sorry, I ate too much this morning and felt dizzy. Starting tomorrow, I'll take the subway to school myself." An unnecessary person should know when to step back. Besides, Joshua himself was extremely picky about food quality, and he wouldn't let me eat junk food either. Every day after school, I had to go home with him. I'd been craving the street snacks outside the school for ages. The other students even said a legendary scallion pancake master had just opened a stall there. But Joshua's expression darkened even more than when he was defending Robin earlier. He typed another line. "What are you throwing a tantrum for? The Sun family's car isn't too small to fit you." A suggestion. Rejected. Completely baffling. Chapter 6. Arriving at school. I first went to the homeroom teacher's office to handle the transfer procedures before returning to the classroom to pack my desk. My classmates whispered among themselves. Joshua used to spoil Joanna so much. I almost thought she really managed to climb the social ladder. Climb what? He literally transferred her to the worst performing class. I heard that class is full of spoiled rich kids who never study. If she goes there, she'll probably get bullied so badly she drops out. Serves her right. Who told her to look all high and mighty this morning? Criticizing Robin with that tone. Joshua doesn't like eating in the car? And then Sun God didn't even hesitate before eating Robin's lovingly prepared breakfast. A basketball suddenly shot through the air, hard enough to scatter the gossiping crowd. Joshua walked up to them, towering over them, staring down coldly. His icy gaze made everyone shudder. I didn't understand. He was the one who wanted me gone. Yet now he was acting like he was defending me. Forget it. I pulled Joshua away. The break is almost over. I need to hurry to my new class. My backpack, stuffed full of textbooks, dragged heavily downward. Joshua frowned. His long, jade-like fingers grabbed the painfully tight strap digging into my shoulder and effortlessly swung the entire bag onto his own. Still typing. The college entrance exam is coming soon. You only need to stay in class 13 for 1 month. It will be over quickly. Bringing Robin into the elite class is only because the strong academic environment helps her catch up faster. Your foundation is better than Robin's. Any class works for you. After the exam, I'll come pick you up myself. After the exam, I would already be boarding a plane to the UK. But I said nothing. I simply looked into Joshua's slightly guilty eyes and, like always, tugged the corner of his shirt and smiled trustingly. Okay, I'll wait for you. I had to keep acting until I left the country. I had to reinforce father-son's assumption that Joshua liked me. Joshua was very satisfied with my obedience. His tension visibly relaxed, the guilt in his eyes turning into delight. He patted my head. His screen lit with a new word, reward. Chapter 7. I followed behind Joshua. In my mind, I calculated that if he was still willing to walk me to the classroom door, then those spoiled rich kids wouldn't dare bother me. In that case, my life in the new class shouldn't be too bad. But suddenly, Joshua stopped, frowned at his phone, then spun around and dashed away. Great. Spoke too soon. Carrying my heavy backpack, I stepped into the new classroom. Someone had a cigarette dangling from their mouth. A group had modified their desks into makeshift mahjong tables. The entire room was thick with smoke and chaos. Even worse, this class included the school belle whom Joshua had turned down before. That scene was not exactly graceful. She had cried nonstop, insisting Joshua give her a reason for rejecting her. Joshua got annoyed, pulled me into his arms, and made his meaning painfully clear. The school belle held a grudge against me ever since, not because she was deeply in love with Joshua, but because her pride couldn't accept losing to me. By any conventional standard, she outclassed me in every way. She glanced behind me, checking if Joshua was there. Guess the rumors are true. Joshua's tired of you, his loyal little doormat, and doesn't even want to stay with you for another second. She tilted her head and grinned at her friends. Well, don't just stand there. Take her to the restroom. I said nothing. Quietly, I tore out the CD attached to the back page of my English textbook and folded it in half. Chapter 8. 10 minutes later, miserable wails echoed from the girls' bathroom. Well, I was once the #1 troublemaker at the orphanage. I knew a bit of fighting. It was just that they had numbers on their side. A chunk of my hair got yanked out, and the skin on my scalp burned like fire. Grimacing, I groped my way toward the school infirmary. But the moment I reached the doorway, I froze. White curtains fluttered in the breeze. Golden sunlight flowed in like liquid sand, and the pretty girl frowned delicately as the handsome boy tended to her ankle with a look of deep concern. It was just a minor scrape. Yet Joshua treated it with reverence, as though he were tending to a sacred goddess. I remembered he had a cleanliness obsession. Once, when Joshua was sick with a high fever, he dismissed the nanny and insisted on drinking chicken soup cooked by me. I accidentally cut my hand. Startled and hurting, I called him to help bandage it. He frowned, troubled. His hands lifted then lowered then lifted again. Words stuck in his throat. You know I hate anything dirty. Can you wash it clean first? Joshua was extremely particular and very strict with me, but when I was exhausted from fighting like a stray dog just to get resources at the orphanage, it was also Joshua who reached out and pulled me up. A boy as pure as fresh snow. The truth was, I really did like him. Secretly, suddenly, emotion crashed over me like a mountain. I crouched by the flower bed and cried until the sky spun, mourning a love that never even had the chance to form. I was devastated, but if I died, who would spend that 10 million? I couldn't be that selfish. The pain spreading from my heart to my whole body suddenly eased. I stayed curled up with my face buried in my knees, but couldn't cry anymore. Regretfully, I sniffed, clicked my tongue, and stood up to return to the classroom building. My daily quota of self-pity. That was enough for today. Chapter 9. When I got home that night, father-son was on another business trip. After piggybacking on Joshua's son's tutoring session with the private teacher, I went back to my room and took a shower. Wrapped in a towel, I stepped out and saw Joshua standing in my room without me noticing when he had entered. He was at my desk, holding something. When I saw clearly that it was my diary, my heart lurched violently. The check was inside. Did Joshua see it? Was he going to question me? Once he knew the truth, would he march straight to father's son to clarify everything so the Sun family could save their 5 million? Then what about my life? My studies abroad? My future happiness? In an instant, my whole body went stiff. I walked toward him in a daze, each step as heavy as if my feet were weighed down with concrete. Hearing my movement, Joshua turned around. His eyes and expression were so cold the air felt like it froze. He lifted the diary slightly. No explanation? The password used to be my birthday. Why did you change it? Since childhood, Joshua had a strong curiosity, borderline possessiveness, about my diary, even demanding I set the password to his birthday. He held up his phone, confronting me. I was guilty as hell, jumping a little to shorten our height difference. I snatched the diary back. I just felt like changing it. Open it. I want to read it. No. The refusal burst out before I could think, realizing how reactive I sounded. I quickly forced a smile to appease the young master. It's really nothing. Girls just have some personal thoughts we can't tell outsiders. I'm an outsider? Joshua's expression darkened further. That's not what I meant. I tried to steer the topic away and toss the diary onto the bed, but his hand gripped my wrist tightly. Joshua raised his phone with one hand, and with the other, squeezed my wrist hard enough to hurt. His eyes narrowed dangerously. There's something new inside. Something even I can't see? What if I insist? His long fingers slid from my wrist to my hand and slowly pried open the fingers clutching the diary. Seeing doom incoming, I improvised desperately. Actually, I stuck your photos inside. My voice was tiny, like a mosquito. My fingers twisted at the hem of my clothes over and over. Embarrassment written all over my face. From above came a low chuckle. Joshua's expression was one of smug certainty. I knew it. He typed, "Makes sense. I should have guessed. You can walk out wearing just a towel to seduce me. What else would you record in your diary except me? Get dressed and come downstairs. I'm taking you somewhere." After getting ready, I peeked out the window and saw Joshua holding a bicycle, the tip of his shoe idly tapping at the patches of moonlight filtering through the leaves. It was so late. What was he planning? Chapter 10. Didn't you say you wanted to experience sitting on the back seat of a bicycle and feeling the sea breeze? I learned it specially for you. Joshua seemed embarrassed. He quickly turned off his phone screen and nudged me to sit on the back seat. He pedaled along the cycling path. I didn't dare hold him too boldly, so my hands only lightly tugged at the fabric by his waist. As we approached the sea, the wind on my face grew salty and damp, but it didn't feel unpleasant. On the contrary, it was soothing. The road was uneven. After a bump, I swayed a little. Joshua kept one hand steady on the handlebars and still had a free hand to pull my hand securely around his waist. My heart thumped wildly, and my confusion grew even stronger. What exactly was Joshua trying to do? Soon, the mystery unfolded. The bicycle stopped. Joshua planted a long leg on the ground to steady us. In the distance, the Ferris wheel by the beach suddenly lit up, its cabins wrapped in strings of red, yellow, blue, and green lights that flickered, gathered into constellations, then scattered like stars. His warm hand rested on my shoulder, gently pushing me into one of the cabins. The moment I stepped inside, fireworks burst into the sky with crackling sparks. "Joanna, happy birthday." Fireworks bloomed and vanished, again and again. Oh, today was my birthday. I had almost forgotten. I turned around excitedly. Joshua, like performing magic, somehow had a beautiful cake in his hands, shaped like a pink castle. The candles were already lit. Across the candlelight, facing Joshua's smug, trying too hard to look cool expression, my eyes stung with warmth. I quickly shut them to make a wish. After making my wish, I would tell him that I did like him, the kind of liking where even his pretentious behavior still seemed cute to me. These past weeks, my heart had been shredded over and over, and I had been numbing myself with the idea of money. But now, I didn't want that 8 million anymore. I wanted our 12 years together. Love was supposed to be worth more than money, right? But before I could open my eyes, Joshua's hoarse voice came from above. "Happy now?" So can you return the scholarship money to Robin? She needs it more than you. I opened my eyes. My first thought, Joshua spoke to me. My second thought, no wonder AI can't replace humans, the emotional volatility is too much. I had gotten hot-headed earlier. 8 million abandoned just like that. How exactly was I planning to live? Joshua continued his recitation of his self-righteous thesis. 12 years. You followed me for 12 years and made 12 birthday wishes, hoping I would say happy birthday to you myself. Today, I fulfilled that long-standing wish for you, and I even promised to attend the same university. You can still stay by my side for 4 more years. Isn't that enough for you? Besides, you've been living in the Sun house for years enjoying privileges most rich young ladies don't even get. Are you really going to covet that 8,000 scholarship? He rambled on. Rare chance for a mute to talk. Understandable. While he lectured, I nodded along, blew out the candles, cut the cake, and handed him a slice topped with a strawberry. Maybe you haven't spoken in too long, your voice is kind of glitchy. Why not have some cream to soothe your throat? Joanna, stop pretending to be stupid. I meant well, but Joshua felt provoked. With a wave of his hand, the cake splattered against the glass wall and slid down, leaving a mess. He froze, looking uneasy, then accused me. You made me angry first. I looked at Joshua and felt he was unbelievably considerate. Every time I started to doubt myself, thinking I was a terrible person for choosing money over feelings, he would personally reassure me. Your decision is correct. Actually, after the scholarship list was posted, I filled out the withdrawal form. I'll submit it to the dean tomorrow. That way, Robin, who ranked 4th, could take the spot. Because I'd seen her feed stray cats with the money she saved from her own meals. And because I had taken her 8 million. Joshua's expression brightened instantly. The colors of the fireworks reflected brilliantly in his eyes. You shouldn't be mad at Robin either. In fact, you should thank her. She encouraged me to interact with people more. Without her, your longtime birthday wish wouldn't have come true today. You wanted to hear my voice the most, right? I promise I'll keep talking to you from now on. Consider it your second birthday gift. Please. Empty promises don't count as gifts. His father was far more generous. Chapter 11. 1 month. Not long, but not exactly short either. Most of it passed in a blur. My desk mate and I gradually warmed up to each other. Chubby was the only one in class who didn't ostracize me, because my morning reading voice helped him sleep better. Unlike me, his grades were terrible. He planned to go abroad to get a polished resume, so I took the chance to ask him about things to pay attention to when studying overseas. Joanna, your egg yolk chicken wings. The cafeteria staff always trembled dramatically when serving girls, claiming girls eat less. But for male students, their plates were piled like mountains. Chubby happened to be dieting, so we had a tacit agreement to swap trays, a kind of lunchtime partnership. But today, just as Chubby and I exchanged trays, a hand suddenly reached out, grabbed the tray in front of me, and without a word dumped it straight into the food waste bin. Joanna, who allowed you to flirt with boys here? Joshua clenched his jaw, his hostile gaze sweeping once over Chubby before locking onto me. The college entrance exam is coming. If you don't focus and end up failing to get into a university, I'm not going to repeat the year with you. Come with me. Joshua tugged my arm and pulled me toward the exit, but Robin stepped in to block him. Move. Joshua pushed Robin aside, uncharacteristically snapping at her. But a second later, reason returned. He took a deep breath, forcing his tone to soften. Sorry, Robin, I can't eat with you today. Can you wait by yourself for a bit? I have something important to ask Joanna. Robin scratched her head. No, I wasn't trying to stop you. I just wanted to ask, if you're not going to eat, can you give your meal to me? Her eyes were glued to the tray. Only then did I realize Robin never actually had ill intent toward me. She simply had that pure, oblivious personality, zero emotional radar. As expected, Joshua choked on his words. Then, before leaving, shoved his meal card into her hand. If that's not enough, get more. Chapter 12. The moment we stepped out of the cafeteria, Joshua couldn't wait to confront me. Joanna, do you have no shame at all? I felt his temper was even more illogical than the final problem on a math exam. Thinking for a moment, I asked, what happened? Joshua dragged a hand down his face in frustration. What happened? You're seriously asking me that? We're this close to the college entrance exam, and you're out flirting with some guy? You even stuck to him like glue. Do you know the school forum is saying you two are dating? I guess you must be starving, if you're willing to go after someone like that. Thanks to Chubby's elite food-grabbing skills, I'd been eating hot meals every day lately, so without thinking, I said, "He's my friend. Don't be so mean to him." You're proud of that now? I didn't come here to listen to you sing praises about some great friendship. Stay away from him. Did you hear me? Chubby is the first friend I've ever made. I lifted my head, meeting Joshua's gaze. All my life I've revolved around you and the Sun family, going back and forth between two places every single day. I never had a social circle of my own. Then you transferred me to another class where no one talked to me. Now I finally have a friend. Why do you think you have the right to interfere with who I'm friends with? You think I'm interfering? Joshua's eyes grew colder. Fine, go make your friends. You don't actually think North City has only one top university, do you? Before you apologize, I'm not telling you which school I'm applying to. He threw down the threat and stormed off. He had no idea, right now, I didn't care at all which university he chose. Chapter 13. When I returned to the classroom, Chubby had already moved away from my seat. When our eyes met, he looked guilty and quickly avoided my gaze. It wasn't what he wanted, but he couldn't afford to offend the Sun family. I understood. Losing the first friend of my life stung for a moment, but I quickly refocused on my studies. After all, the better my exam results, the more Sun's father would be willing to pave my way abroad. On exam day, Joshua was still angry. He sat in the car glaring at me, and just as I reached for the door handle, he suddenly ordered the driver to drive. I nearly fell and ended up inhaling a whole mouthful of exhaust fumes. People say men aren't petty. He waited days just to get that one revenge moment. Tell me that isn't petty. I decisively pulled out my phone and booked a ride. After the exam ended, I don't know why, but I deliberately slowed down my packing, dragging it out by 5 extra minutes. Miss, it's time to head to the airport, the secretary reminded gently. I nodded. Outside the school, reporters surrounded Joshua and Robin, eager to interview them. Beautiful boy, pretty girl, guaranteed traffic. As the car passed by, the Joshua who once promised to pick me up caught sight of me. He raised an eyebrow challengingly, then pulled Robin into his arms and smiled lightly at the cameras. Yes, she's my girlfriend. I smiled faintly and mouthed, congratulations. After today, we won't see each other again. Joshua. Extra 1. Joshua. In Joshua's memory, Joanna's eyes had always been full of him. Even when decent boys confessed to her, Joanna would secretly glance at him, cheeks flushing as she said, "Sorry. I have someone more important to take care of." If that wasn't liking him, then what was it? Until the day Joanna, for the first time, stiffened her neck and yelled at him because of some chubby. How dare she? Joshua couldn't swallow that humiliation. So after the exam, he deliberately didn't go find Joanna, and instead admitted, right in front of her, that Robin was his girlfriend. Did he actually like Robin? Don't be ridiculous. Joshua knew perfectly well that he only saw Robin as a younger sister, but as long as it made Joanna feel miserable, that was enough. He still remembered her expression, slightly stunned, clearly shaken, yet still stubborn enough to say congratulations. Heh, if she truly meant it, she wouldn't have rolled up the car window on him. Joanna, she must have cried in secret. No matter, give her 2 days. She would definitely come crawling back to apologize. Thinking of the diary filled with things about him, Joshua let out a silent laugh. Extra 2. Joshua felt that the punishment he gave Joanna was too mild. So on the day the college entrance exam ended, instead of returning to the Sun household, he took Robin on a trip to Japan. He had never liked posting on social media, yet this time he carefully selected photos before uploading. Every single time, a full 9-grid post. Nara Deer, Universal Studios, Kasuga Shrine. But after 3 consecutive days, his pinned contact still remained quiet. Joanna, was she playing hard to get again? Joshua pressed his lips together, fingers squeezing the edges of his phone so tightly they hurt. A heavy irritation settled in his chest. expression darkening. He muttered, "Unpin, block." If she didn't cherish the chance to apologize, then she couldn't blame him for being ruthless. Extra 3. On the 5th day, when Robin held a donut up to his lips, Joshua instinctively refused. But then, as if remembering something, he picked up his phone, his pretty, fox-like eyes curving slightly. As he pressed the shutter, he leaned in and took a bite of the donut Robin was offering. That night, he removed Joanna from his block list. No, he had to post a WeChat moment first, so he added Joanna back to the block list, edited his moment, posted it, waited half an hour, and then removed her from the block list again. After everything was done, Joshua tapped the back of his phone leisurely with his fingertip. These days, without seeing him, Joanna must be going insane. He closed his eyes, quietly waiting for Joanna's flood of messages, but the phone notification he expected never came. Not a single vibration. A giant question mark filled his mind. He couldn't hold back anymore. Fine. He'd lower himself, just this once. The next second, Joshua hurled his phone across the room. The screen shattered, cracks spreading like a spider web across the floor. That glaring red exclamation mark burned into his mind like splashed paint. Joanna. How dare she delete him? Something must have happened. Joshua's hands trembled as he booked the earliest flight back home. He didn't even have the capacity to deal with Robin anymore. Extra 4. Joshua arrived at the Sun residence in the middle of the night. The moment he stepped inside, he rushed straight to Joanna's room, empty, completely cleared out, as if no one had ever lived there. Of course, how could he have forgotten? Joanna had been adopted by his family as a child, and the contract stated that once she became an adult, she had to leave, which meant that old man Mason had thrown her out. A vein in Joshua's forehead throbbed violently. Rage flooded him as he balled his fist and pounded hard on Mason's door. The moment the door opened, his eyes were bloodshot as he roared, "You kicked Joanna out!" Mason stared at his son's madness with cold indifference. "In the middle of the night, you're yelling over something like this? I'm asking you, where did you send Joanna?" Joshua grabbed Mason by the collar. Shaking with fury, the butler stepped forward, head lowered, and explained, "Miss Joanna received 10 million from Mr. Sun and went abroad for further studies. Mr. Sun gave her 2 options, you and the 10 million. Miss Joanna chose the 10 million. Joshua punched the butler, then threw his head back and let out 2 humorless laughs. "Don't give me that bullshit. I know exactly how much Joanna loves me. Say it. You forced her, didn't you?" Mason straightened the wrinkled collar of his pajamas, frowned at the butler, and said, "Go see a doctor, charge it to my account, take the next few days off." Then he looked at Joshua, took out his phone, and dialed Joanna's number. His tone was calm, unwavering. "You want to know whether I forced her? Listen for yourself." The phone rang. Only 2 seconds passed, but Joshua had never been this tense. The call connected. Joanna's clear voice came through. "What is it, Uncle Sun?" Mason let out a soft chuckle. "Nothing. How are you adjusting to Chicago?" "Everything's great, thanks to the teacher you introduced me to. I'll soon be able to study at the school I've always wanted." Joshua snatched the phone, disbelief and fury twisting his expression. "Joanna, what do you mean? Did my dad force you to leave? You didn't actually want that 10 million, did you? Say something. As long as you tell me you like me, I'll go to you right now." The line fell silent for 2 seconds. "No, Joshua, I took the money of my own will. I left you of my own will. No one forced me. But didn't you like me since we were kids?" Joshua asked, unwilling to accept the truth. Any nanny who receives an astronomical salary will do her best to take care of her employer. "You're saying, to you, I was just your employer." Joanna sighed faintly. "Don't make trouble. It's late, get some rest. I'm very satisfied with my life now." The unspoken message, "Don't disturb her again." Joshua held the phone, looking upward as harsh ceiling lights pierced through his fingers, stabbing his eyes. He raised a hand to cover them, and as he laughed, tears suddenly spilled out. So that's how it was. Joanna had never liked him at all.